Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to the show, to the Piper Academy, where you're gonna have the charts, the news, and everything that you need to have to be prepared throughout the week. So, guys, so sorry yesterday I wasn't feeling that good. It just took me by surprise, so I was not able to jump into the live. So, very sorry about that. But without further ado, let's welcome the one and only Trade Flood. What's up, Trade Flood? How has it been, and how has it
What's
been your
going
so far your
on?
week?
It's going good, man. Going good, dude. I'm glad to hear that you're feeling a little bit better. Excited to do the show with you. I got on with Otter and his crew yesterday, and that chat is an absolute trip. So that was definitely some fun. And yeah, man, just looking forward to hitting a little bit of news and charts with you, man. Just get back on the grind.
Absolutely. Have you seen the thumbnail and also what it has been happening with RNDR or render? It's been
No,
taking
no,
off completely.
dude, I mean, you're seeing that with a lot of the alts there right now. It's almost like playing like alt whack-a-mole at this point. It's just one will pop and then the next one will pop. It reminds me a lot of the bull market before, where it's like, what are you looking for to break out, in any particular day, while Bitcoin is just kind of sitting there stagnant and consolidating.
Absolutely. So first, let me welcome Alex O Crypto. What is up, brother? Gia, what is up, and welcome. And Battle Tang, yo yo yo. Yeah, render has been killing it. So Trade Flight, would you be okay if we go over your charts and see what we have? Sorry, over your news and we see what we got prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, what's up to my twin? I see him in the chat. That was the big thing going on yesterday. Apparently, we look pretty similar. So, brother from another mother there, Alex O, what's up? So, yeah, the first thing I got up is the 100K Bitcoin conversation again. And so, this is the big topic of discussion. It always has been. And really, what this article was pointing at is like, hey, we think we would have gotten there had we not had some of these like huge, black swan type events like COVID, FTX, Celsius, and all of those different events just kind of dragging it down. So, I would love kind of to hear kind of what the chat has to say about that. Do you guys really think, actually, if you could post a poll, that would even be more cool. I can't do it from my end, but do you think that Bitcoin is actually going to get to 100K again? Or not again, but you think it's actually going to get to 100K?
Well, I do have high hopes on that, but yeah, let's run with that poll. I do have high hopes on that, and have you also seen what has been sorry, just mumbling there, with
All right, man.
oh, still the Mets still with the Mets, and Mets are taking effect still. Oh, like MicroStrategy CEO is talking about where could he could be expecting Bitcoin to be reaching throughout 2024. I mean, it's pretty insane when you start seeing now new predictions, but I believe that we're still pretty early to start calling a couple of numbers. But if you guys want to join us and see what numbers we can come up with for the top of the market, join us for a almost there video where Piper, Tradefly, and Alex O Crypto, and who else we're gonna be having on board? Tradefly.
I think it's a Lunar Beach Crypto. It's gonna
Yes,
be
and Lunar
David.
Beach Crypto.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're gonna be throwing our knife at you guys. Yes, yeah, it's gonna go there, it's gonna go that way, it's gonna do this and gonna do that. Well, just for fun, but it seems like it's gonna be playing out very nicely. So yeah, do you want to
Yeah.
go on with maybe something else that you might have for us?
Yeah, man. So couple things. Here we go. All right, so we're gonna get to this when we get into the charts. I'll actually bring up the DXY, and we'll take a look at that and see where it's at. But it hit a 4-month low, right? So this is kind of bullish for Bitcoin. So as the US dollar kind of pulls back and it retraces, you can expect Bitcoin. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a direct correlation where it's just going to take off, but it will have the opportunity. The door will be open for Bitcoin to kind of start making a move to the upside again. And so I thought that was pretty important to look at. And then when we get to the charts, we're going to kind of, we'll validate that, right? And we'll look at it and we're like, okay, well, how low can it go? And where do we exactly think that it's going to find support?
Nice. All right, let's go to one news that I have for you guys. If you already have seen the thumbnail, Render, breaking render, so jumps into the top 50 after 1,100 price increase in 2023. So render upward movement accelerates. The render price has exceeded a significant bull run this year. Since January, the price has increased by 1,100, culminating with a new yearly high of 4.87 today. This is the highest price in more than 700 days. I mean, there's a big couple of years, right? And I don't expect altcoins to start breaking new all-time highs before we start getting closer to the halving event. I believe what is driving all of this craziness is exactly that halving event. And as we have been talking about before, I'd also believe that we could be into a small or tiny altcoin season. So I'm not putting all of my eggs in the same basket. I mean, I do trade render. In fact, we've been looking at render constantly throughout this couple of months, and we've been making very nice profits on those for the guys that are following those trades. And again, not financial advice, but I show you what I do and where I do try to enter and exit. But so far, render has been playing out very nicely, and I do expect a couple of more coins to start breaking upwards until we get very close to the halving event, or we see some new updated news on the ETF of Bitcoin. So
That's going to be the catalyst, man. I think that's the catalyst. Where people are front running the ETF for sure, and I think that's going to really start driving us into that area where we're having these crazy conversations again. But I think it's cool that you pointed out too, like a kind of a mini alt season. But really, it's that same pattern that we see every time. Bitcoin moves, Ethereum moves, and then the altcoin moves. And it's like I said, it's like whack-a-mole. It's like each day you're going to see something pop. And, Render seems to be a strong project. And I think that it has potential to continue on. It's just like, where is it at in its life cycle is one of the things you have to look at. Because if you look at Ethereum or not Ethereum, but ADA, you look at that and you're like, well, if you look at Bitcoin's price and where it is right now, and then where ADA was at that same time, a year and a half ago, it's substantially lower. Like it got crushed during this bear market. So those are some of the things you kind of have to look at as well. So yeah, that's kind of my input there.
Absolutely. And I think you say something very interesting and important, which is Bitcoin moved, Ethereum moved, and then the rest of altcoins move, right? But this is what I want to ask you. Do you already think that Bitcoin has really moved? I mean, of course, it has been going up, but in my perspective, we haven't yet moved at all. I mean, I just believe that we're in a giant range. I mean, we're just coming out of the bottom, and that is basically it for my perspective. But what do you think, TradeFly?
So that's a tough one. And I'll say, because it's up 100%, it's moved, right? This is the largest cap coin that we have. So it's definitely moved. But the thing that we have to really look at is the adoption, right? And I think because people are now interested in Bitcoin and crypto again, there's this element of adoption, and it's getting talked about on the news. It's getting, we're getting these 100K predictions. Plan B is magically resurfaced. There's all kinds of things that are happening right now that are, I'll say, bullish, right? And retail itself is getting back in. So, is there more upside potential? Yes. Have we made a move? I also say yes to that. But Bitcoin will ultimately drive the market.
Nice. Yes, I also agree with you. The only difference between maybe my perspective and your perspective could be the initial or how the altcoins might be following Bitcoin. On my perspective, I believe that this is just a tiny move, and we're still waiting to make that huge move to the upside right after the
so you're on the 100K train for sure. Then, if you think this is a little move, Michael Saylor's going to be a rich dude, man. So you better invest in micro strategies.
I mean, if you keep following what he has been doing, well, I do remember that back in the day, it was kind of like an inside joke, especially around my friends, that every single time that Michael Saylor bought, the market dumped, right? So for some reason,
Hey, my man DCA'd all the way down though. Like, if you want to look at something and be like, hey, does DCA work? It worked for that guy. like because they're profitable right now.
Absolutely. That's the point that I was going. I mean, despite he was kind of like a calling, not exactly the best points to buy, he was consistent, he was there, he was also buying throughout the bear market, catching and averaging down his price. And basically now that I believe, again, this is my take, right? I believe that we haven't had that big of a movement. He's gonna get to where he wants to be.
Uh,
Sooner or later.
he's
That's what I think.
I mean, he's net profitable now. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
it's only if it goes up from here, like this dude is going to be one of the wealthiest guys on earth. It's wild.
Absolutely. Ex Goldman Sachs executive says he's long XRP after punching on opportunity of lifetime. So we keep seeing this kind of XRP movements. I mean, I do believe that XRP has a ton of future, especially after what has happened on or through the U.S. government, and now that it's not being that hunted, I believe that I mean, it's just we just only need kind of like a match to start, burning that field that has been accumulating. Former Goldman Sachs executive Rob Paul says he's betting on XRP. So do I, but not more than Bitcoin. In a new interview with an attorney, John Dayton, the Reveal Vision chief executive said he bought the asset after the U.S. Securities and Exchanges Commission (SEC) sued Ripple. So not too long ago, just like I was mentioning, having those issues with the SEC, and then right now not being as chased as before, right? Claimed XRP was unregistered security. When you see something like that, it's like, okay, now the price has been massively discounted. We know it's a real thing. Half of the people have been shut out of the market. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. So one taking here, guys, I mean, we've been seeing a couple of FOMO and food news. I mean, I absolutely am not gonna be ending up this live and running to purchase XRP at all, right? But I just like Michael Saylor, and I'm not trying to compare myself, but I'm just trying to compare the strategy slowly and steadily with the coins that I do plan to be holding on throughout the bull market. What do you think there, Trade Flight?
Yeah, man. I mean, this dude's obviously he's all in. I was reading an article saying that like in terms of his liquid or liquidity, or net assets, I think not net assets, but his assets, his liquid assets. There you go. That's the one I'm looking for. He's all in on crypto, and so
Yep.
that was very interesting. And in terms of XRP, like I would say XRP was on that hype train probably a couple years ago, and everybody was really saying like this is the project, this is the one. And so it was very interesting that the government kind of targeted them first. When you really think about that part of it, but it's very like I would say it's surprising right now with XRP. I've been expecting more from them. I was expecting a much bigger pop once the all the court cases were done. I thought they were going to get over or at least to $1. And so it's kind of surprising that they're still kind of sitting down where they're at right now. And man, just getting like sidetracked right now. ADD's kicking, but like the markets look like they're kind of dipping. See a lot of red, and Bitcoin is down
All
2
right.
point something percent, man.
Let me throw it back to your news and see what you got for us.
I am all out of news, man. Unless you got anything else, I can move over to some of the big market cap coins and go through the top 10. So up to
Absolutely,
you.
let's do that, and then we wrap it up with what's the next market spots because something is happening very
Okay,
clearly. And
right
courtesy of
on.
Piper, he sent us that. Said he sent me that article and said you need to talk about this.
All right. Yes, sir. We'll do that. All right. So global market cap is sitting at 1.6 trillion. You can see that's on the increase since the last time I was on the show, but down 0.16%. Total market cap volume over the last 24 hours is 63 billion, which is down 13.85%. And that makes sense because yesterday we had that spike down or that little wick that came down, and then I think everybody was buying back in, and then price came back up. So interesting enough, the price did seem to actually now it looks like it's following that wick. And that was one of the things I meant to ask Alex about if he was a believer in that yesterday. But Bitcoin dominance is at 51.79%. And Bitcoin, Ethereum, they are sitting at 1 and 2. As always, Bitcoin is down 4%. Ethereum is down 5% over 7 days. BNB is up 4.96%. I think it's still recovering from all that negative news. XRP is down 5% over 7 days, which is interesting. Solana up 3.2%. Cardano is one of the big movers at 17. Avalanche just keeps cranking, man. Avalanche, like, that's been on a tear probably over the last few days. That's up 41%. Dogecoin is down 3.9%. Tron is down 2%. Polkadot is at 8.7% and a positive. And then rounding it out with Chainlink and Polygon. Chainlink is looking like they are down 11% and Polygon is down 2.6%. So I'll go ahead and kick it back to you. I'll let you hit X marks the spot and hit up that news that Piper wants us to talk about.
Absolutely. I mean, this is very impressive, and I do see why he wanted to bring it up. And I mean, I would absolutely also do, and that's what we're doing right now. So this is incredible. Just about every time the Fed started cutting rates, and I do have my take on that, parentheses, dating back all the way to 1950, their unemployment rate has spiked, right? So we have a comparison chart right down here. We're gonna take a look at that in a second. Historically speaking, the first cut some 3 months before the unemployment rate begins to spike, according to Reventure. So on average, the unemployment rate rise to 7.5% in Fed rate cut cycle. Meanwhile, the Fed just said they don't see unemployment rates rising higher than 4.1. That's just a 0.4% above the current unemployment rate. And historically says on soft landing is unlikely. So I mean, I don't know, but I believe that these guys are smart guys, right? I mean, I don't think that they do things just lightly, and I do believe that what they do, it orders based on a macro scale, not only the United States, but also the effects that the United States could be having and impacting in the rest of the world. So I believe right now the United States is one of the biggest countries on both economical power, and they do use it to try to stabilize, let's say, to stabilize what might be the best for their perspective. And I'm not against that. I mean, every country, if they had the power, they would. But in this case, we're seeing that every single time they cut the rates, then employment hits up. So for me, that makes me think, well, is that connected? I mean, how couldn't? But what do you think? What is your take in there?
I mean, I think it is. And all you have to do is listen to Papa Pal talk. And when he does, he always talks about the unemployment rate and the unemployment rate actually coming up, which is, I think I mentioned it last time I was on. It's a 6-6 way of, the way we do things in the US. It's like, okay, we're trying to fix inflation, but at the same time, we're raising unemployment numbers. So which is really better for us, the actual, the individuals that live in the United States, and we're working and we're doing things like, so it's I don't know, it's an interesting take on that, but ultimately, I would not want people getting laid off, and I'll be honest, like I can see it at my job, so I'm not going to say like what I'm doing or where I'm working and all that, but we're tightening, we're definitely trying to do more with less right now at my company. So I would say it's probably a trend overall because my company is a Fortune 500 company. So, I don't know, man. It kind of sucks that like, yeah, the Fed is bringing the interest rates down and that's a good thing. And we might have the soft landing they're talking about, but at the same time, unemployment numbers go up, and that's an unfortunate part, especially now, like we're getting into the holidays and Christmas and all that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's nothing worse than seeing that. I mean, unemployment is going up in rates on, I mean, on holidays. That's just, I mean, that makes me sad. But I also believe that they're counting on those rates to combat, right, or to mitigate the unemployment rate. So that's my take. That's what I think. I might be wrong. I might be right. But I do believe that they are trying to balance out what might be happening on the states. But yeah, do you have any technical analysis you would like to start with? Let me know.
Yeah, man. Only thing I got up right now is the liquidity, the heat map, and then Alex O over there cracking jokes, man. No jobs, eat bugs, own nothing, be happy. Hey, man, I'm not eating
Oh,
bugs.
yeah.
I am not eating bugs, bro, but I will be happy. So, so I always tell people like if the world goes to poo, like I win because I'll be ruthless. But cool. Yeah, I got the heat map up here, and you can see there is some liquidity sitting at, if only it worked, at about 43,575. So up above that little local high there of or that resistance area. So people are just playing shorts in that area. So don't be surprised if you see a wick up there at some point. And then down to the south here, or the lower portion, you can see there's some more lighter green. Honestly, I don't think there's anything too crazy looking at the heat map right now that would kind of drive any of my analysis. If we were moving up and right, maybe we could clear out some of that liquidity. But let's go on the daily, look at that one. Maybe we can get a better picture. And yeah, you can see price steadily moving down. And there is some, smaller areas of liquidity.
Oh, I think we lost you, trade fly. Let me get back to him right here. Give me just guys 1 second. Here we go. We got him back.
Me?
Yeah, we got you back now.
Okay,
Nice.
right on. Where was I? Was I on the weekly, the daily?
Daily. You were
All
finishing
right,
on daily moving
cool.
down.
All right. So yeah, just looking at the daily, you can see it has cleared out some of that liquidity. Other than that, though, man, there's nothing too crazy on that. So anything you want to touch on liquidity? Otherwise, I'll bounce over to the DXY because that's one I am excited to look at.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, sweet. So over the DXY, looking at that. Now, I don't know if you remember last time we talked. We talked about that 104 area, and I was like, hey, it looks like we're going to have resistance there. And that actually lined up with the dynamic reactor, which it looks like it's a little slow to load right now. So I'm wondering if my internet is pooing on me. But the other thing is, I said that it's probably going to come down to this trend line right here. And the reason I said that, if you go back, you see how this trend line was resistance multiple times. So I was pretty confident in that trend line, coming down here, down and right. And sure enough, where do we get a bounce? Was right on that trend line at about 10, we'll say 102, right? So inverse correlation with Bitcoin, right? So you get that bounce. This is why I look at the DXY. So I was like, hey, there's an area of support and there's likely to get a price reaction or some kind of bounce off of that area. And then you go over to Bitcoin and see, is it at resistance? And then you try to find that inverse correlation, because that would be, I would say not a way to forecast, but kind of a way to get ahead of it and kind of cheat a little bit. So that's one of the reasons I always look at DXY. Now,
Nice.
one of the
Yep.
things also for DXY, like when I start looking at that, you want to look at about the 100 zone, all right, because that was previous support. You can see it here and here. It was also resistance. All right, so in this area here, in this area here, and you can see this was significant because it had resistance and then it just popped off, right? So if it continues to come down, keep an eye on that area at about the 100 area. Okay, so you'll look for a reaction there. That could be an area once it hits that 100 level that you could see Bitcoin maybe retrace.
I see. So you see retracing on Bitcoin soon, rather sooner than later.
No, I'm not saying that, because we're finding support here at this
Yeah.
trend line. So, but that you can kind of like see it happening, right? So as it's coming down, you expect there to be a price reaction or some kind of reaction. And so when
Yes.
it bounced, then like, okay, it would make sense for Bitcoin to pull back. And look what's happening. Bitcoin is pulling
Yeah.
back. So that's why I always look at the DXY.
Nice. Love it. So let me throw it back into my charts here, and maybe I can do a complementary chart there. So let's go to Bitcoin here. And so far we have a sell signal. What is it? Let me see. Seems like my charts are not playing out. Do you have maybe something in the meanwhile I fix my charts? there.
Yeah, man, we can go over to the Nasdaq.
Oh, here we go.
You good?
Now that's working. Yes,
All right, cool.
there we go. Perfect. It seems like technology today doesn't want to cooperate,
It's
right?
not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
charts aren't
just
loading
spend
either.
my charts or your charts?
No. So like the indicators, like
Oh,
they're not loading.
I see. So let's take a look at it here. We have RNDR, but let me get started with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we have a sell signal, but I'm not really expecting Bitcoin to fall below the dynamic reactor, not until now, and especially because I see the ADX flipping back up. If we can make the ADX flip back up, despite we could be going down into or on that bullish squeeze momentum, right? Like something like that. But as long as we keep moving up, like we did in here, we could be seeing either a ranging zone or a up-ranging movement at this point. So I do agree with Bitcoin maybe going for that retrace. In fact, I do also see it. Let me bring you up a couple of things that I have in here before we move ahead on the next analysis. I'm going to start turning on a couple of my indicators here. The first thing I'm going to be doing or turning on are my support and resistances, which also have some trend lines. So far we see this triangle playing out at this point, and as you can see, we've been bouncing within those triangular patterns. All right, so right now we are into a channel, and as you mentioned, we can be seeing those wicks going back down and then retracing. So that is one of the main things that I see Bitcoin maybe not breaking through the dynamic reactor, not until now. But I will also be closely looking at the next candle, because at this point I believe the next candle will be either breaking above or even breaking below. If that starts breaking below, I'll be looking at my oscillator, and also I'll be looking at my ADX flipping. So wherever the ADX is going to be flipping, because I'm still on a bullish pattern up here, all right? Because it's still green. It doesn't matter that it's still that it goes down, right? As long as we are in green, we call it for bullish. Just the difference between bright bullish, it is that we have a little bit more momentum, and less bright bullish or darker green, we have a little bit of that less momentum, right? We are coming down on that momentum. But what it could be bringing up to the table, it is the ADX bringing up that strength. So far, I do see a couple of things playing out in here. Let me just also remove this a little bit of spaghetti and go for my predictive tools in here. At this point, I have a premium zone and an equilibrium zone along with a swing fail entry down here. So, all right, breaking the dynamic reactor. What I meant with breaking the dynamic reactor, I don't believe that we're going to be doing something like this, all right? Like completely going down, breaking it, and parting off the dynamic reactor. Depending on how far we could be going on the ADX along with the squeeze momentum, I could be seeing a little bit of a fake out, maybe less of a volume or less of a time of this kind of like fake out, and more like a little spike going down, maybe like a V-shaped recovery going into this section here. Why? Because I see that confluence building up, and if we can get there, we probably will have that momentum to push up Bitcoin back to the VPVR line is. So also another quick tip that I'm going to be looking at, it's going to be my my RSI prime. Look at that candle on the RSI prime. I mean, that is a continuation candle that we can see in here. So again, we need to be careful. I believe that we need to wait to see a possible reversal. So far, we haven't had it, and what I'll be looking for again is a couple of those small candles to start building up or piling up, and then making that little curve. When I see that, I'll know that the price could be at support, and if it's at support, then I'll prepare for a possible entry. So far, I'm looking at as a first possible scenario 41, and then the next one I'll be looking at somewhere around 40,600, something along those lines. What are those alarms? Basically, where I'm gonna be reanalyzing my possible interest. So I just adjusted this one, 41,664, and the other one, it is 40,642. So not too far away, still waiting on that result to be playing out. Going back to RNDR, let's take a look at here. I mean, RNDR has been crazy moving since since the beginning of the year, or since we break above that dynamic reactor, right, which happened on September 12th, 2023. So it's been taking off very nicely. So let's take a look at what we have so far. So the previous analysis that we had on public, or at least on this chart, it is that we were looking at a previous range or a possible range, and then a retracement. As you can see, we were very close to that target on that retracement, and then we went back up to finish up that range. Then we're going for that dynamic reactor over and over. So far we're getting close. We're getting far away from the dynamic reactor. I mean, if I compare it with my EMAs, let's take a look at what those EMAs are showing, especially the 55 EMA and the 100 EMA. Let me save that chart. Here we go. And we are, again, very far away from those two EMAs. So I am expecting, or I would love to see, another pullback somewhere around here. And remember, if we see it ranging, remember that ranging, it's another kind of retracement or correcting. All right, so remember, every single time that we have a range, that range is a ticking bomb, and we should be looking at our indicators, like for example the RSI prime, to see when are we getting oversold and overbought, and when are we getting those small candles on the high Kineshi to start jumping at support for those reversals. All right, so far I do see maybe a possible double topping here. Is it gonna be continuing or going down? I still don't know. There's too little information in here, but I can start bringing up a couple of things in here. One of those things are gonna be my predictive ranges. So my predictive ranges are telling me that I am right now on my golden line in here. All right, so this golden line is very much pairing with this upraising trend line from this megaphone. So I have two vertices here. Sorry about that. One of the vertices, it is the ADX. All right, the ADX, it's flat right now, and we are still green. Look at what happened the previous time that we were green. In fact, we could be pointing out, say, specific zones like this one, then maybe this candle to this candle, then couple of our space. So I could be waiting for a volatility zone in here. All right, so what will define whether I'm going to be breaking on this range? And let me clean this up so we can see clearly that range that I'm talking about. This is the range that I'm talking about, and I'm going to be making it a little bit smaller. Here we go. It's going to be my ADX. All right, so my ADX is going to be pointing out whether I still have strength. All right, despite this keep going down, just like it happened here. As long as I still have that strength on the ADX, I will keep pushing up. So what's going to be the next vertex here? The breakout of this trend line. If I start breaking that trend line down, going for maybe a retest, and I see my ADX flipping down, well then guys, we should be a little bit worried. We could be going for the 4.08 zone, or even better, the dynamic reactor at 3.81 zone. So I'm also going to be adding my alerts. So the first alert I'm going to be adding is a breakout at the top of here, and then I break out at the bottom of the range. That way, as soon as I had a breakout section, I'll be ready to go to do my next analysis and prepare an entry right there. So TradeFlight, would you like me to throw it back to you? In the meantime, also guys, if you have anything that you would like us to take a look at, please let us know, and we're going to be reading the chat and coming up with that analysis. So TradeFlight, throwing it back to you, brother.
Cool, man. Yeah, so what I did, I went ahead and brought up render, and I was like, let me take a little look-see at that. Let me give you two key areas to look at right now. I have one as resistance, one as support. So you'll see the red line here. It's just a horizontal line of resistance. All you got to do is look back left on the chart, and that's at about $5.40. And then a area of support, and that's going to be the green horizontal line, and that's at about $4 and we'll say 10 cents. So I personally would keep an eye on those two areas. One, if we retrace, come back to that level, you can expect an initial reaction, I would say, with the price somewhere at about $4 and look for a retest there. And that'll give you confirmation for continuation to the upside. So let's go back to Bitcoin. A couple things on Bitcoin. Again, really top level stuff. Uh, I let OC get into a lot of the details, the indicators, tying it all in. But I'm going to give you that layman's, hey, we're just looking at kind of big round numbers and, very key areas. So we still have that gap. We still haven't come back and filled that gap on the CME future. So that's one area that you really have to consider and realize that it's likely that it could come back down and touch that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to, because right now we've had an up and right trend. There's been a lot of gaps that have been left in the dust, but traditionally speaking, you will see us come back and fill those gaps. Now, getting over to just Bitcoin on the daily here, one of the things that I had pointed out recently was this trend line here. All right, this trend line was resistance going all the way up, and now it's acting as support. There was confluence between that trend line and the Fibonacci retracement, the 382. Okay, so looking at the 382, you had confluence there. I was like, hey, don't be worried. We could see a bounce here. We did. And then one of the things that I said on Twitter, I was like, hey, look for the 43,100 area. I think it's pretty clear shot up to that area. Two things I'm looking at. Again, I'm a very basic person when it comes to the TA, and this horizontal level of resistance right here was at about 43.1. So I was like, okay, there's going to be resistance. And how did I identify that? Well, I saw it was acting as support when Bitcoin was up here towards the top. And then why did I think it was an easy, path up there? Well, you just look at the volume over here. So have the volume and you're like, all right, it's a low volume area. And we had it acting as support. So I think we'll go up there and we're going to probably find resistance there. And so now that's kind of where we've gotten rejected. Now, my concern is now looking at the chart, and as this chart continues to kind of, go on day by day, is that it's getting a little weaker, right? We got a pretty significant rejection off of that area of resistance at about 43.1. So, now are we going to come back down and retest this support level? So this trend line right here is really going to be key to see if we're going to get that continuation of the upside. And my concern is always when we retest an area of support or resistance, sometimes it tends, in my eyes, some people think it gets stronger. I think of it like chopping a tree. All right. The more times you chop the tree, the more likely it is to fall. That's just a personal thing of mine. But keep an eye on that area. And you got anything on that, OC? You think?
Yes, we
Any
also
rebuttals?
we have lined up Bunk and OP. I have OP pulled up in my chart. Would you like to do Bunk after OP?
Yeah, sure, man. I'll pull it up.
Perfect.
I'm gonna shout out to my buddy Battle Token also, man. He's been around since day one for me, following me on my channel. So just want to say what's up to him.
Nice. Welcome, brother. So let's take a look at OP and what we had before. So if you guys have been here for a little while, you'll remember that we were looking at a couple of entries on OP. In fact, OP, just like Render, it's been another very nice coin that we've been trading all along this time. So this was the latest trade that we took very nicely. It basically happened like we were expecting it. So we went for that little bounce, going back up, re-entry on support, flip of the ribbon. Well, I don't have my ribbon here. Let's see. Here we go. Add my flip of the ribbon, and off we go with a waiting zone right here. So we were for a little bit underwater there on that trade. We took TP1, TP2, and then on the retracement on that, it just took us out, right? So far, so good. Let's take a look at what might be happening. The first thing that I see, and let me get started with the 101 trading, right? So for that, I'm gonna be cleaning everything out in here. I don't want anything to bother my site. And also I'm gonna be removing all of the drawings that I have. The first thing I'm gonna be using is only the volume profile magnifier, right? Or the VPVR. Right here, I have my POC, which is a point of control where most of the volume is, all right? And then the next thing I'm looking at are both my head and shoulder lines and also a different head and shoulder. Let's take a look at what I'm seeing with my lines in here, which is this wicks, all right, which are these wicks, and then also this other one. And what could my neckline would be? Well, then let's see if I can figure something out, which I believe would have been some, or will be something like that. And as you can see, we are both on the neckline on the POC, the point of control, all right? So we are right now at the edge of breaking. Then what is next? I do see like a head and shoulders inception, like a shoulder or a big shoulder, a head, and another shoulder, right? And then I see another head and shoulders in here playing out with this neckline. So basically going down, going for the retest, and off we go to the next area. So far it's not looking that good, if you may, and that is just because I am right at this section. All right, so this is the important trend line that I'm going to be looking at, especially I'm going to be pointing out here for it to go and cross over the VPVR. All right, now it's time for me to start looking maybe at whether I'm bullish or bearish. So, I mean, as we already expected it, we are bullish despite we are having a possible head and shoulder, because a head and shoulder, it is not a pattern until we confirm that pattern with a breakout. All right, so my prime score is very high and my consolidation score is also getting higher. All right, so again, I'm looking at this zone, and if I break this zone, my next support zone is gonna be my dynamic reactor, and then going for a bounce. When I bounce from there, if I do, well, then that is the next analysis, or the next point of analysis that we need to achieve there. All right, now let's turn on maybe some support and resistances. Well, then I have my support and resistances here along with some trend lines, and as you can see, the confluence again builds up here, and then we have two lines. We have this one and this other one. So I do have my dynamic reactor playing out in here, but I would rather call it a little bit lower, maybe going for a wick down or maybe a fake out or something like that, because we also see that in the DNA analysis. For the members that don't know what is a DNA analysis, that's a kind of like a concept that we're having around, where we go back into the charts and see what is being repetitive, right? And what we could be expecting with a certain degree of security that it will repeat once again on the charts based on the price action, the ranging section, the uptrend section, and also the distribution sections. So based on that, this is gonna be the area that I'm gonna be looking at first, and then you see this little channel building up. That's gonna be my next area to start looking for an entry if we break below this trend line. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is adding an alert in here to make sure I'm hitting that trend line, and then I'm going to be hitting another alarm or putting another alarm somewhere around here, so I have the heads up when I'm getting closer. In the opposite plan, let's take a look at what if that neckline holds. All right, if that neckline holds, let's take a look at our oscillator. Our oscillator, it is telling us that we are below the zero line. Let me show you guys a little quick tip in here, because this is gonna be one of those tips that you guys are gonna love, right? Look at that, from here to maybe here, and then also all the way till here. Look at where is that ribbon at based on the zero line. All right, is it below? Look at what happened to the price action. Is it above? Look at what has happened to that price action. Right now, guys, let me know, where is it? Is it above or is it below? I mean, we are still bullish. There's no question about it, because we are very high in our prime score, and also we are above our dynamic reactor, and also we are above the 100 and 200 EMAs. So as you can see, when I start also throwing my 100 and 200 EMAs, the same zone that I'm looking at starts playing out with the same perspective right there. So I do have confidence that if we break that trend line, we're gonna be reaching one of those zones. So I'll be preparing a long position there as I see flip of the ribbon in here at support. And if you don't have access to the prime oscillator, don't worry, just go and take a look at your RSI prime right here. This is a free indicator that you can search in the indicators, just do chart prime, one single word all together, and then look for the RSI prime. So on the RSI prime, what I want to start looking at, it is a couple of those small candles and then green candles reversing. Another thing that it's important to note is that OP, it's known at this point to have those kind of like a double bottoms before we start moving upwards. Look at that again, double bottom. Maybe, let me see, again, another double bottom, and so on and so forth. So if you also start seeing maybe some double bottoms in here, just get prepared in some support zone. Could be a very nice location to start opening some trades. Not financial advice, guys. TradeFly, do you have a take in that?
Yeah, so I'm really going to kind of piggyback on your analysis. And so technically speaking, right, when you have a head and shoulders pattern, you're going to measure from the head to the neckline and then down. So I went ahead and I drew the line for you. And what I want to show you with that is that it's actually lining up with your analysis. So you can see at about $1.09 or so, you had that wick there that acted as support. But if you actually go back left on the chart, you can see where it was resistance. And then that was kind of the breaking point for when we actually, started going up and right with this pattern, so for it to retrace back to that support level, very, very logical. And it lines up with your analysis. So I kind of wanted to point that out. Now, if you go to a little larger time frame, if you look at the daily and then you zoom out a little bit, go back left on the chart, you guys will find that's a trend for me. You're going to see a couple areas of resistance here. Resistance, there's about 3 areas where it acted as resistance and even support, even though it ultimately fell through. So that's kind of further confirmation. When you get a larger movement to the downside after an area tries to flip into support and then it doesn't really hold, then that's kind of a confirmation that you have a stronger area of resistance or support. So you want to honor that a little bit more. And that's where ultimately we came up to and we found resistance. And now we're kind of at current position. So just want to piggyback, kind of add that to the analysis.
Nice. Love it. Let me just throw it back in here before. Do you have, or would you like to prepare bunk? And then I just add to your analysis on bunk?
Yeah, man, I can pull bunk up. I don't have it ready already. So if you have it, you go ahead and
All
I
right.
can piggyback yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we move into bunk, let me just add the second analysis that I have up here, sorry. And it is in case we flip up here right now, that basically we don't wait for that base support and we do flip on that neckline, because remember, the neckline, it is the important line that we need to break. And if we don't break it, we usually bounce hard from it, all right? So that will be a breakthrough this downtrend line, all right? Going for a retest on this upper trend line and the high volume zone with a POC is, and then expecting as we flip on the RSI prime, a possible entry for a long. So guys, not financial advice, but I am looking OP closely, just like RNDR. So let's take a look at bunk and see what we got here. So I was expecting a pullback on bunk, all right? It seems like that pullback actually happened very, very fast. And what is that? Because I was looking at this section in here, all right? And then also looking at this other section. So as you can see, at this point, I was looking at the flip of that RSI prime at support and breaking through. And this is very important, guys. And let me start clearing this up, because let me show you what had happened. Remember that we had this previous triangular pattern, all right? As you can see, my little house already there, going for that possible breakout. My possible breakout zone would have been somewhere around the 100 and 200, the 200 EMAs. But remember also that I was, and let me Control C, maybe I just delete too many things in here. Here we go. I was also expecting a possible breakout to the upside, all right? So that upside did have a little range in here. Did not went back down to the area high or the base of this alarm, but it completely demolished it and went all the way up here. So as you can see, this also could be happening on OP. That's why I draw those lines, because as soon as one of those lines is breaking, I should be taking some actions there, not financial advice. All right, guys. So now we have broken this and we have a crazy move. All right. So did I enter on bunk? No, I did not. Sorry, I just completely did not enter on bunk. I did enter other coins like Render, OP. Let me see also which ones I did enter here. Yesterday was a little bit of a crazy day. Yeah, I did had bunk, but did not enter there. I was on not feeling well at that time. So super, I did enter in super, and WFC, I also entered on WFC. So yep, let's see now that we shouldn't be chasing after prices. All right, guys. So, and by the way, Alex, Crypto, I see that you said I'm looking better. Thank you so much. I am feeling better. Not 100% sure. I took some meds and the meds are working, right? But like, yeah, like a TikTok trend. But
So, are you tracking on
yeah,
why Bonk actually just took off? Probably within the last couple of days here.
yeah.
Yeah, so
We
they just
kind of
got
right
listed.
now.
They just got listed
Yep.
on Coinbase, so
Oh,
that's why it took off.
yes.
Yeah, so that I
Perfect.
think that's a news-based pump, honestly. So now is, do we look for that, big pullback? Because you'll see that a lot. Coins will get listed on an exchange, they pump the first day, 2 days, and then all of a sudden they have massive pullbacks.
Nice. So I'll be looking for that maybe here on the other side, but until I have something like this, I will not be trying to catch that short right there because Bonk is it's a low volume or low cap coin, and we still had a couple of prediction movements. If we bounce right now from the dynamic reactor, my next possible zone to be looking at it is the 0. I don't know how many zeros, 4471. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, then 4471. So that is maybe 30% growth, or yeah, 42% growth still. So yeah, let me try it back to you, Trade Flight, and let me see what you got there.
Yeah, man, it's to be honest with you, it's hard to put analysis on a coin that is pumping because it's a news based or because it got listed. So thanks to Bedridden, also he pointed out Binance. I forgot about that one. So yeah, it's been listed on Coinbase and Binance, right? So for us to put a lot of analysis into it, like it's kind of hard to predict where this is going to go in my eyes because the indicators, everything is going to tell you overbought, and they're going to tell you it's due for a pullback, but you really just don't know because this could build some of that FOMO effect and we could continue to the upside. So it's a really scary area to be in. So, Alex O played it smart. He got in before the pump, and that's dope. So he won that battle. But would I get into a trade here with Bonk right now? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even short right now because you're going to probably see some volatility. You see that it's very common when coins get listed on exchanges that you see that volatility within that first few days. So you can expect big pullbacks, big movements to the upside. And, for me, it's just something that at this point I would stay away. Now, if you got in, where, the main area that you were doing your analysis in, that would have been a decent area. You could see it was kind of building, we'll say a bull flag or a bull pennant in that area if you're looking at the daily, and that would have been so an area to get into, and it looks like that's where Alex got in. So right now I'm staying clear of Bonk, and to be very honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about Bonk in terms of what it's got going on in terms of utility and all that. It is, I think is it Solana based? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think it is. So yeah, man, I'm staying clear as of right now. I'm gonna let it settle out, let it start forming some levels of support and resistance because at this point I already kind of missed the fun part.
Yeah. So we're getting back, or we're getting at the end of the show today. So I would like to bring it up here, Tread Flight. So maybe we can have a little chat on maybe what do you see things going from here to the halving event. I mean, we are right now hitting, what is it, 15, right? We're 15, half of the month of December. Everything is blowing up. We were talking with Piper that we're going to be having an amazing, amazing December. I mean, that was our expectative, right? But what do you see, or where do you see the markets heading as we jump into January? And also talking about those win rates, those not win rates, those job rates playing out in the further on the upcoming months?
Yeah, man, it's really tough to tell. But one of the things I brought up at one point, and I can't remember if it was on here, or if it was on one of my videos, but s- back if you go back and look at history, October, if you get a positive month in October, you're likely to see a positive month in November, and that surely played out this time. And that kind of history repeats itself, right? So that's something to always kind of keep in mind. And then for December, I always am a little bit nervous about December's, and especially when we start getting to the end of the year. We could get maybe a Santa rally, which I kind of feel like we've already gotten a little bit here. But the reason I get concerned with December's specifically, especially the end of the year, is because people start to tax loss harvest. So if you guys aren't familiar with that, what they can do is they can sell the asset and then they can buy back into that asset or something else. But what they're trying to do is show that loss for the year. So especially those that are very, very wealthy, if they're upside down in a trade, they may not be a good trader. And they were like, all right, well, cool. I'm going to take the loss here and then I'm going to offset some of my capital gains that I have somewhere else. And so that's a thing that you have to be careful with at the end of the year. I'm not, to be honest, I don't have any big feelings about us continuing up and right. I think consolidation makes a lot of sense because we've had a lot of movement already up and right. But who freaking knows? But January, that could be wide open, right? Because that's pretty much where we started the pump for this year. Is January? I want to say like 6th of this year is when we really started getting that up and right movement. So keep an eye on that. Beginning of January, I think, is a time for you guys to start looking.
Absolutely. My take on that is that, as you mentioned, taxes are coming up, right? So people also, holidays are coming up. So maybe people are also engaging on taking some profits and then spending that profits on their families, on
That's wise.
holidays.
That's something I didn't really think about, but yeah.
Yeah, so and we've been having those crazy pumps lately, which indicates to me that I mean, if I would have, I don't know, let's just say that I bought bunk yesterday and I went very, very hard in it, or the past week, right? And then now I'm seeing it blowing off, and I do have a little bit of I don't know, that trading experience. When I see, all right, over that percentage of growth, I start taking some profits. Well, then I do have that money sitting around and I might be eager to spend it, right? And yeah, I do see maybe that pullback happening by the end of December, depending on how bullish we are throughout this rest of these days. So the more bullish we keep moving in December, I think that the more bearish, and I said with quotations, we're gonna be by the end of December and beginning of January. But then after the holidays are over, well, then you get your mind back into the game, right? That's
Yeah.
why I do see that maybe ranging zone, like a macro range happening with a pullback, and then on January, maybe 15, 16, even 17 of January, pulling back up into the next FOMO movements. So I do see maybe a little range happening depending on how far we go till I don't know, let's say to 20 or 19, 20 of December. That's what I believe that we could be seeing those pullbacks happening, and that is because you have what till 24, right? So it is 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then 24. You can basically get anything. So you only have 6 days, and as we know, we love to do things at the last minute. So that is my take on that.
Yeah.
So Trade Flight, I would love to for you to do the honors and say goodbye to the audience. And guys, Tishu, what's up, yo yo?
Hey.
And guys, thank you so much for sticking around. Trade Flight, all yours.
Yeah, absolutely. T Shroom, what's up, dude? And thank you to everybody for tuning in today. We truly appreciate the support. If you guys enjoy the content, as always, go ahead, give us a like and subscribe. We'll see if my computer does the crazy emoji thing with the fireworks in the background after the thumbs up. But yeah, man, follow us over at Twitter. You got the Army Piper, you got Real OCG, me, Treyfly, and look forward to doing another one with you guys. Take care.
And use a stop loss.
That was awesome, dude!